Hello, and welcome to Faith and Fire, where we help ignite your faith with the fire within. I'm your host, Francine, and thank you for joining me. I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. This show will share powerful stories and insights that will uplift and inspire. We'll explore ways to fuel your faith and unleash the fire within you. Stay tuned. I will be right back with today's guest. Hello, and welcome to Faith and Fire, where we help ignite your faith with the fire within. I'm your host, Francine, and thank you for joining us. Today, I have two amazing guests. My first guest is a Rwandan Canadian who migrated to Canada in 2003 as a young woman, having completed her nursing training in Rwanda. She is an international disability advocate, a dedicated healthcare professional, and visionary leader who has made significant strides in supporting individuals with disabilities throughout her distinguished career. She is the founder of a charity organization called Living Channel Services, a Canadian registered charity with a foundation in Rwanda. She is also a devoted wife and proud mother of two sons. My second guest was born and raised in Alberta, Canada. She is a global disability advocate, a program oversight for a special needs school, as well as a program coordinator at Living Channel Services. She is a lifelong Christian who is deeply rooted in her church community, while also a proud wife and mother of three adult sons. Please join me in welcoming Esther Gasangwa and Julia Diemert.
God always gives you more than you could handle, because if he didn't, you wouldn't know you need him. And so
very interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it like that. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people will, like when I'm working with families with special needs, because people will tell you that, like, oh, you're such a strong person, that's why God gave you this child. And it's like, and it's almost like they say, well, I'm not strong enough, so God's not going to give that to me.
Right.
But it's not. There was no way I could have done this on my own. And he has taught me sometimes, I'm not even going to give you strength for the next hour. I'm going to give you strength for 1 minute. Okay. And then ask for it again.
Right.
And you go minute by minute, hour by hour. And it's just this constant awareness of how much I need God and how I can't do any of this without help. That is what gets me through all of this. And it's, like I said, I'm a slow learner. It took me a lot of years to learn that. I've met people who learned it a lot sooner.
Yes.
But for me, it took just having that. And again, it's another story about our son, Josh. In 2023 and going into 2024, he was very, very sick. So he ended up in ICU 6 times. He was on a ventilator 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
We almost lost him lately. Like, there were times when we sat there and we looked at him and I said, I didn't know if he was going to make it through the day. Or if he did make it through the day, would Josh be Josh still? Because he was lying in bed. He wasn't responding to us. Normally he's like cheerful and chirping and stuff like that. And he understands. And he just lay there and did nothing. And, the most interaction we had was that you could tell he wanted me to hold his hand and sing. And there's specific hymns that he wants me to sing. And so for 8 months, we sat there, we took turns sitting beside Josh's bed and praying and saying, God, it's going to take a miracle.
Yeah.
But you had to also say, whatever you want. We'll accept whatever you want. I want Josh here. I want him to survive this. I want him to come back. But if you want to call him home, if his thing is done, then we accept that. And God did work a miracle, and Josh survived it. He is back to the way he was before.
Right.
And so obviously God is not done with him.
Right.
And later on, I'll tell you a few of the things that God did during that time. But it was again a testing of my faith, because at the same time, my mother was in the hospital twice with heart problems, and so was my father-in-law. And there were times when I was literally running from floor to floor, because I would go up and I'd spend a couple hours with Josh, and then I would go down and I would have to be helping my mom take bath or helping her. She couldn't open the food herself, and so she couldn't eat lunch unless I came down and peeled the top off the applesauce and stuff. And so, yeah, it was really tough. And that's why I said, without God, I wouldn't have made it.
No.
I don't know how different without God do this, because he's the one that gave me the strength to be able to do all of that.
So I can add that, as a Christian, I believe that our faith is not based on how we feel, on the situation that we are facing. It's just based on God's faithfulness, right? So God is very faithful. It doesn't matter really. That's why I think we always, get closer to God and also see God moving. On my side, when I look back, when I was 12 years old, in this genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, there is no way that, the trauma and the brokenness that I saw to that age will even make me to smile.
Right.
I know there is other Rwandans out there who still facing a lot of hardship because of what they went through. But by God's faithfulness, we can continue. We can have this purpose we are doing. Not because we are worthy, not because we are righteous, not because there is not, a lot of things that can make us feel that way, but because God is so faithful. And it is, make us to not stop because God is so faithful. And when you look back, when you look back in our lives, in Julia's life, and when we talk, and you always see that God has been so faithful. There is a lot of things, yes, we face, but also there's other things that God did, where he protected us. Now we are survivors, for that genocide against the Tutsi, and also our lives, daily lives. We'll always see, seeing Josh in the hospital. Thank you for mentioning that, because, I remember praying days in life. I'm like, God, done with me. Done with Josh, He's already, gave me and my family this big passion of starting with this organization. And I can say that through his funds, I get, I really, support this charity, right? So, he looks like he's not doing it, but his funds, make me to accomplish the purpose of God upon my life and his life too as well. So when we see all of this, we're like, God is so faithful, and he has done it, and we cannot stop. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. There's even there's even few more stories from when Josh was in the hospital, and it's like, I don't know, and I don't know that I'll ever get why Josh had to go through that. But there is a few things that it was like those ones where God just gives you that glimpse of, like he pulls back the curtain and says, here, I just want to show you a couple little brightness to keep him through it. So when Josh was in the hospital, one day his pastor came to visit him, and then she mentioned that she was working with a family who was from Africa, and they didn't have a translator, and so they were having a really hard time communicating, and she was trying to help this person get services. They were a family with child with special needs, which is why they had moved here. And she was trying to get the services, but there was a huge communication barrier. And the very next day, Josh got assigned by the agency someone to come and just sit with him to give us a break. And as we were doing the thing and talking, she happened to mention that she spoke that language. And so I said, would you be willing to do translating? She says, oh yeah, I do translating for families. And so I was able to connect her with our pastor, and she was able to do the translating to get these families their services. And the other one that God pulled back the curtain was, we were sitting there, and Josh, for one of the first times, had a roommate, because normally he gets put on isolation. Right. So he had a roommate, and it was an older lady, and we ended up spending hours talking while I was sitting with Josh. And she said that she had been a pastor of a church, and she'd fallen away. She had just, things in her life had happened, and she was just not walking with God. And she was also had heard that if you go on a ventilator, you will die. So she was terrified of a ventilator, and she put in her thing, if I die, don't resuscitate.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And as we're talking, and at that time, Josh had been on the ventilator 4 times. And she looked at him and looked that he was recovering. And she told me the next day, she said, I talked to my doctor and I changed my goals up here. She says, I want to live. And she said, you know what? I think I might come back to church too.
Yeah.
And so just like I said, it's little things, start. I know that there's got to be more reasons that God was working and he isn't, but it's enough for me to be asking why.
Right.
Because he says, here, I'm just going to show you a few things just so you know to trust me for all the things I don't show you.
That's a lesson I've had to learn as well. And just because I'm a person, I like to know why to everything, right? Sometimes it's hard not to get the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to trust him. Trust it. So not even now, even sometimes, I go through things and it's like, I'll still ask, and then it's like, okay, if I don't get the answer right away, or sometimes you may never get the answer that you're looking for, but to know that you can trust him, it makes it a little easier. Yes, right.
And that is the one about not getting the answer you want. It's just sometimes you want answers with no, wait, or maybe.
Yeah, right. But it's not the answer we wanted.
It's not the answer we wanted. Yes, exactly.
I always say he answers, but sometimes it's the answer we don't, it's we may not like the answer. And sometimes not now.
Yes.
But it's an answer too.
Yeah.
I've had to also learn that.
Yeah. Right. And that's a good one to learn. There's so many people think if God doesn't answer the way you want, that he didn't answer.
Exactly. That's fair. That's why I wanted to mention that. No, his answer, you just have to listen and trust that he knows what's best.
Yeah.
And sometimes God will answer a question that I had, and then I didn't understand, or sometimes, to be honest, I didn't like the answer, but down the road, I understood why. Something will happen, and it'll be like, oh, that's why this didn't happen the way that I wanted, or, you really come to, Father, you always know best. Thank you. That's right. I mean, not appreciated at the time, but I'm appreciated now. Thank you.
Yeah. They said everything works for good.
Exactly.
Together for good.
That's right.
And then there is where actually in the Bible, the story, it says they asked this person, he did something wrong? And then Jesus answered and said, it's for God to be glorified.
Right.
Yeah. So sometimes, and it's true. We always ask why. We have a lot of example we can share. Each one has, a lot of example. But, after that, after a while, you're like, oh, actually, now I know why this happened, Yes. And it's always, God do miracles, or God always reveal himself for not only us, but also for others.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Esther, you talked earlier about your organization. Can you tell us more?
Okay, so our organization, I think we talked a little bit.
You did. They want you to talk.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really an amazing organization, and I want the viewers to
it is.
Hear more about it.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's a mission, it's a ministry, and it's a calling. We just answered the calling from God,
right?
When we studied this charity. Again, I myself, when I came here, I mentioned it a bit how, I ended up working in the hospitals, in nursing homes, and then later, I think starting 2008, when I moved to Calgary, that's when I found a job to managing a group home with the people with disability. And my passion started growing, looking these individuals who have all support, all care. And then I'm like, then from Rwanda, I grew up in Rwanda, in Kigali, capital. I never see a child with disability, right? Yeah. So I used to see handicap, individuals, but not developmental disabilities. So, and then in my heart started thinking about these people. And then after, I remember calling my sister. Part of almost my siblings are here, but I have one sister who is still back home. Yeah, so I called her and I asked her, do you know these people? Have you seen people with disability? And then she's like, she's a nurse too as well. She's like, we're in the hospital sometimes, and then, you don't see them in the community, out there. Again, it's understanding, they misunderstood, or it's just understanding, how disability is, most of them, they had them, you don't see them really, and they always think that it's witchcraft and all those rays. So then I'm like, I can do something. And then, I kind of it popped in my heart that this is where I belong. Again, then when I had a Josh in 2013, I said, you know what, I can use what I have to go and support these children with disability. That's when I kind of, talked to Julia and so that we have the same passion, same vision, and we called other people too as well. Then we founded this Living Channel Services. We became a charity organization registered in 2016, right? So since 2016, that's what we are doing. We have a lot of programs. I guess St. Julia will end up. But our vision is to giving hope. It's to restore these families in Rwanda. It's to educate the children, because we know that they're equal. They are like children like others, and they need support. So with what we do, we don't only educate, but also we feed them, we give them medications. We have a lot of things we do. But yes, exactly. But it's to give them hope, a brighter future for tomorrow, and until they live to their fullest life. Yeah. And show them that God loves them, not only the children, but also the families, that they know that they are loved, that they can go out there, be happy, and they know that their children can contribute something in their families. Right, yeah. So that's how we study Living Channel Services.
And Julia, you're one of the program coordinators at the Channel Services. Can you tell us more about your position there, some of the services that are provided? Yeah, tell us more about what you do.
Yeah, so as program director, I kind of, I could be jack of all trades.
Right.
So I do a little bit of everything. I do the website, I do the graphic arts, but it's basically overseeing all of, like, Esther and I get together every week, and we spend a lot of time working on what needs to be done that week, and so that's kind of what my position is. And it started because when Esther one of the things we haven't mentioned is when Esther took Josh in, they took him in and they treated him as their son.
Oh, yes.
As in that extended to us becoming family, so that we are now sisters.
Right.
And their whole family is our family.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. And so it kind of all went together that way. But we looked at the families down there, and like I said, we have a slightly different focus each. So Esther focuses more on the children. I focus more on the parents. So my husband and I were able to travel to Rwanda finally last Christmas, like in 2024. Yeah. And we got to meet the families. And you saw some of them that they now have hope, but we still saw the despair that you saw in some of their eyes. And we looked at it, and it was like looking in a mirror of what it had been like for us. And that was when God called me to work full-time for Living Channel. But we see the families, and part of it, like Esther alluded to, with this thinking it's witchcraft, is the families are completely abandoned. So you have mothers with a grade 3 education whose husband have said, it's your fault you had this child, and so they leave. And here at Canada, my family embraced my children. Right. Their extended family does the same thing. It's like, it's all your fault. We don't want the contamination. We don't want this to happen to us. So these people are just left destitute. Or children decide that, like, have a child with a disabilities and they don't want it, and they will take it to a grandmother or an aunt, or in some cases we know of a family where the child was just abandoned in the toilet. Yeah. And so now you have other people who are believe that there's something with this child that they're raising them, but they're still, because of their culture, they're ashamed. And so the children are hidden away. And also because of the culture where there's no social services, if family is living on they don't have enough food for the day, they're going to feed their typical child first, because that's the child who's going to look after them when they get old. Whereas the other child is going to be a burden. So when we go down, we help make sure that the entire family has enough to eat.
Right.
And we have an amazing story that I love to tell. Call him Papa Philippe because we don't use his name. So Philippe was one of the boys that we met. And when we met him, he could walk on his hands and feet only. And his father was looking after him and 7 children on his own. His wife had left them because of the child with disabilities. She didn't want anything to do with them. And his son couldn't stand upright because crutches were 2 months' salary. And so we bought him crutches and we sent him to rehab to learn how to use them. And he learned how to walk on them. And Philippe is now walking independently. And what he didn't even want to be, we took a picture. We had the crutches. We wanted to show that the crutches were there and he's walking. He didn't even want the crutches around because I don't need them anymore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And his dad was part of we have a pig co-op where we provide pigouts to families and they raise them. And then we help inseminate the pigs. And when they have piglets, they get to keep half, and when half goes back into our program. And Papa Philippe, when he had his first set of piglets, he bought seeds and he planted every square inch of his land because we'd also given them training in farming at some of our meetings. And so he was able to feed his whole family and sell more at the market. And then he had another piglet and he used that to buy a calf. And he nursed that calf back to health, and she is now a mother, and he has started his own dairy yard. And he is feeding Philippe, 6 siblings of Philippe, and 4 children he's adopted, all from the start of crutches and a piglet.
Yeah.
So he's one of our success stories.
Oh, yeah.
And we have other families that have done similar things.
Right.
But then there's also families, because we'll say of Mama Matthew.
Right.
And I'll give her the same name as our son. And her son was severely handicapped, could never sit up. And so she would carry him on her back to go work in the field for just enough money to feed them for a single day. And he got to be 60 or 70 pounds and she couldn't carry him anymore. So she would leave him locked. She would feed him in the morning, get him ready, and then she would lock him in their little one-room hut while she went to earn enough food and then go to the market, and he was left alone all day. And she had no choice. But the way that the government looks at it is if one of the neighbors got mad at her and was to report her for doing that, she would go to jail and her son would be put in the hospital. And hospitals down there only provide medical care. They don't provide food. So without a family, he would starve to death in a hospital. And that was the choice that she was left with. And again, my husband and I looked at that and we're like, this child is just like our Josh. And without the support we had in Canada, this is where we would be.
Yeah.
And so we were just determined that we were going to do more. So that's where, those 2 things are where our programs come in. So we have the pig co-op. We have a chicken co-op, which has also helped families to be financially independent. Our big one right now is our school. So that is the one that we're most passionate about. We started one of the first schools for children with mental disabilities in all of Rwanda last August. We started it with 3 children. We've now got 10. And 8 of the 10 are sponsored.
Yes.
Yeah. But most of the children that came, so we started with some of the children from ours, and the other ones were children in the neighborhood who are disabled, and they followed our kids to school and then refused to leave. And then the mothers would come and they would cry and they would say, please take our child. Right. And as we got sponsors, we took more. But we have this absolutely amazing teacher down there. And the mother of one of the students is our TA. And they have just this heart and this passion as well. And so they were started to get paid for 3 kids.
Yep.
And we haven't been able to increase this because we don't have enough sponsors.
Right.
But they're just like, doesn't matter. We will take the children. If you can get them a uniform and pay for their snack, we will take them.
Yeah.
And so the school has grown. They're on this little crowded porch, which is open to the elements because it was the porch for our office. It was never designed to be a school.
Yeah.
And so the kids get rained on. They get, the wind blows in. Some of the kids are sick a lot of the time, and that's what I all will. So we are doing, and I'll give you this. We're doing a campaign called Bricks of Hope.
Yes.
And what we're doing is,
With us.
yeah,
Let's see. So, and provide more information afterwards. Yes. Yeah. People want you to find out more information or donation. We'll include all that information.
I'll just give you briefly what we're doing is we're selling bricks for the school.
Yeah.
And people can put messages to our children, or they can put their name on it, Bible verses on it.
Yes.
Whatever they want, and every brick is a brick towards building this school that will be handicap accessible. It will have 2 rooms and be enclosed so the children will be safe from the elements, and we'll be able to take 2 to 3 times as many children as we've got right now.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of our big campaigns. Did that one. Yeah. So the other one that has flowed out of that is because we are running a school down there, the district asked us if we would come down and teach teachers on how do you teach a child with special needs.
Right.
So like one of our students who went to school, and I'll call it Josh this time. Yeah. So Josh went to school. He's a little boy with Down syndrome who's got just the biggest smile, and he will hug everybody. He's just this amazing kid. He went to school. He was learning to read and write, but he got frustrated in school and couldn't sit still. And so he would get up and he would go to the other classrooms and he'd visit his friends. And the teachers said, okay, you can't stay. You can't come back. And he was kicked out of school. So he's now one of our students, and he's learning again. And he's actually, some of our younger students look up to him and they follow him and they copy him. And he's becoming, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a role model. Role model, that's the word I was saying. So he has the role model. But the kids at school, the kids in our school are learning to read, they're learning to write, they're learning to be math, they're learning basic life skills. They are eventually going to be, like one of our fathers is going to be teaching them how to look after chickens, so if they get vocational skills. They're going to look after pigs, so they get more vocationals. They're just going to be getting, like all the different programs are going to be teaching our kids vocational skills.
Yes.
So the district said, can you come down and run a 3-week program to teach teachers? So we're going to be running a seminar and talking about first what causes disabilities, that it's genetic or that it's, birth defects or whatever, or so that they know that it's not something, they can be around these kids without worrying that they're going to catch the curse. And then we're going to teach them, now how do you actually educate children who learn differently? And a lot of that is stuff that God's prepared, because I've had to do that with my boys. We had to teach them how to talk. We had to teach, which is different than our other son. He just kind of started, right? And was talking in 10-word sentences, but before he was 2 years old. Our kids, you had to fight for every word that they were able to learn, and every skill that they learned, you had to figure out different ways to teach it. And so we're going to be going down and teaching teachers, like, okay, yes, these kids can learn, just have to do it a little differently. You have to, maybe slow down. You have to break it down. You have to, look for issues that they might have, like maybe there's too much sound in the classroom and that's why they're running away. So maybe you give them headphones. All these different things, so that our goal is that the children will be accepted into regular schools, not just ours. And the teachers will see that, hey, Kath, you know what? If with a little bit of work, these kids can learn. Like maybe I can pair them up with another student, and the other student can teach. They learn the lesson better, and then the child with special needs is able to learn without needing the teacher's constant attention. So we're very passionate about that, and that leads into our books.
So excited about these.
Yeah, so we're really excited because these just came out this week.
Okay, yeah. So they look great. Yes.
So these are books in English. They're bilingual.
Yeah, I'll reach them quickly.
Yeah. So that one, Krishuri, means at school. So that talks about So it's teaching kids to read in their native language because there are very few books in their native language. So I wrote this in English and Esther translated it. So it's bilingual, so they can also learn English.
Okay.
So it tells kids, it teaches them to read, but it also tells them what do you do in school so they know what to expect.
Right.
So things like I'm going to have to wear a uniform. I'm going to have to raise my hand. I have to sit in my chair. I need to listen to my teacher. But I get to learn. I get to learn all these different things.
Right.
And so it's, we're hoping it will motivate them and excite them about school.
Exactly. All right.
So this one is about feelings. So children with disabilities often don't understand their own feelings. So they might not know the difference between I'm mad and I'm afraid and very sad. So we're talking about what do you feel and what causes it. So, like if my friends don't play with me, maybe I'm sad, not mad. Or, I don't want to do something. That's when I get mad.
Right.
And it just helps them to understand, their feelings and what causes
Right. Exactly. How to express, right?
and how to express them. And this one, I Can Help, is all the different things that children with disabilities and typical children can do to help. So it gives them a thing it helps make them feel proud about what I can do.
Right.
So it's like I can dress myself, I can go to the bathroom by myself, I can wipe the table.
That's right.
That's something that our 25-year-old does. He wipes the table and then he claps his hands and he goes, "Good job, Matthew." That's what we want our children at the school to be able to do. And we want teachers to know that, hey, look at all these things our kids can do. Maybe it takes a little longer to get there, but they can actually do something. They're not just a burden. That's why we contribute. And then this one, which I didn't give you. This is our most exciting book. Now, this one is only in English. We're getting our Kinyarwanda version next week.
Yes.
But it's All God's Children, and this one talks specifically about faith and disabilities.
Right.
And how it interacts. So what God thinks about children with disabilities, the fact that he created them, that he loves them the way they are, that they don't have to change to be loved. Which we hope is also going to help their parents understand that God loves them the way they are. And that God gave everybody something that they can do, something that they can give back. And that everybody in the world has disabilities. So like Esther and I wear glasses and I've got chronic pain.
Right.
But there's things that I can't, so there's things I can't do. And my husband's very athletic. I can trip walking across the floor. So I have disabilities, maybe not like our children do, but I have disabilities. But I have things that I can do, and our children are just the same. They have things they can't do, and they have things they can, and God loves them, and he died for them, which is in there, and he tells them that they need to pray and ask God to forgive them when they do things that they should, but that God loves them, and that they're going to be with him in heaven someday.
Right.
And so we've given this entire gamut of acceptance and salvation message. And then I wrote some of my story in the back out for parents to look at about how these children have value, and that God loves them and that God loves the parents as well. And we're hoping that's going to spark a lot of conversations. So it's in English. It's being printed in Kinyarwanda this week. And then we are also going to be translating it into French. And we have a contact in Quebec who is going to try and get into the French education system. Yeah.
That'll be wonderful.
So we're really excited about this. Like we're planning on selling them here and in Rwanda, and hoping that because even here there's still people who think that children with disabilities can't do anything.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So we're hoping that this is going to really spark some conversations.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping, with this interview to bring more awareness, education. And yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last.
Thank you for joining me today on Faith and Fire. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Join the conversation. We love hearing from you. Until next time, take care, keep the faith, and stay blessed.